Hello! So I've taken synthetic drums and run them through an amp inside a tile reverb chamber, and I've turned the results into a useful drum device. And I've made a fun video that goes through the process of how that was done. I'll put a link to all that below. But this video is all about what the device sounds like, how it works, and how to install it. Okay, let's go! Okay, so let's have a listen to this kit. So I'm calling this a multi-kit device because it is like several kits in one. I'll go into more details later in how it works. I just want to give you an idea of the sound. And I think it's worth mentioning that none of the sounds are very heavily processed. They've got a more natural sound. They can still be pushed into harder and more synthetic areas or corners in terms of sound, which I'll show you soon. But the core sounds are really more natural, which are not so heavily processed, which is nice because it means you can really crush them and just destroy them or do whatever you want later on. Okay, so I just thought that was worth mentioning. So I'll start with a more natural example, I think, and then get into some progressively weirder ones. Okay, so let's begin. This first one, kind of natural, jazzy, syncopated beat over here. Okay, so there is one example. A more natural sound in this case, which I thought might be interesting. So in this case, a kind of a faux jazz kind of thing, but I think in any kind of house or techno, or any kind of even light rock or pop, I think these drum sounds are pretty versatile because there is a natural element to them, and I brought in this more kind of cartoony, as I called it. And by really dialing up the resonance, where is it? Yes, here we go. This kick, it really kind of brings out a kind of more synthetic and like kind of cartoon. So just a fun aesthetic to it, a very different sound compared with the more natural one over here. Okay, so there's one example. Let's also try another drum pattern that is more natural. This is a kind of 105 BPM kind of quite wonky hip hop thing. At first it's going to sound really weird. It's got a kind of septuplet pattern on top, almost kind of polymetric. You'll hear what I mean. Okay, made a few mistakes there with the jam, but that's okay, you get the idea. So we've got, yes, this more natural sounding kit. And then over here, a more kind of artificial one, which I'll show also in a moment. And they're from the same sound, it's the same device, it's the same amplified synth drums here, and there is no additional processing on any of these. It's all just playing with the different sounds in there, and playing around with the filter types, resonance, a bit of automation on the effects sense, all of which I'll talk about later. So I hope that gives you another good idea, something to do at a slower tempo, which could sound more natural. Or more artificial like this. So there's plenty of fun to be had with these, lots of interesting corners in terms of sound exploration. Yes, okay, next. Okay, so let's listen to something a little bit harder now, a little bit more artificial. Okay, here we go. Okay, there were a few small mistakes in that one too in terms of the jam, but that's okay. You get the idea, I hope. So this particular pattern is playing around a bit more also with the reverse kicks here, which we'll talk about more later on as well, but it gives this kind of real kind of backwards and forwards suction to the groove. If we take it out, so if we take it out, it's just a little bit straighter, let's say, and a bit wonkier with it, so that's nice. I enjoy these a lot. Okay, and now something straighter and harder. I believe it's like a hard groove sound, which is kind of popular again at the moment. So let's have a listen. Okay, so yes, something harder and straighter, which I think will be appreciated by some in particular. Let's have a little bit of a look what is going on here with the tuning. Here we go on this one. Yes, here we go with the long kick. So, yes, it's changing. So if you might have heard almost kind of psychedelic kind of phasing, that is not some kind of fault with the kit at all. That is me playing around with changing the rhythm to make it more interesting. And also with the hats there on the end, slight tuning them up. Yes, so there is another example of something that might be interesting. So a harder sound, again, all the same sound, same source, same amplified drums. Again, no additional processing. Okay, nice. Okay, next. Okay, and these are some Afro-Cuban rhythms. Again, using the same Amplified Synth Drums. This one's got a different name because it's an older version, but it is all the same. So using the same drums as different Afro-Cuban rhythms, and they demonstrate, again, the more natural sound that is possible with these kits. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I thought I should also show a much faster example. So I think these drums could also work nicely in a kind of proto-jungle or liquid jungle kind of style, or any other kind of style. Maybe also drum and bass if they're heavily processed some more or layered with other sounds. But here is a faster example, kind of heads down, almost kind of liquid jungle without all the pads and synths. Okay. Okay, so I hope that gives you a good idea of the sounds. Like I said, it's kind of multi-kit device. There's effectively many different kits in there, which you can design yourself. Lots of sound design options and exploration and fun to be had. And yeah, they're not heavily processed. The individual drum parts or the drum device is not heavily processed. So it can really be processed a lot more later on if you want, as in squished or saturated or whatever you want to do, absolutely destroyed. So yeah, I think it's very versatile. It's versatile, it can be used in many different styles, and it sounds quite natural considering that they are synthetic drums originally. But yes, like I said, through a real space and all of that. Okay, so let's talk about how to use the device. Okay, so how to use this device. It is not too complicated. So if you haven't already saved it into your user library, the easiest way is to load it is to create a new MIDI track, grab the device from the downloaded folder, pop it in there, and bang, there we go, it's loaded. Otherwise, load it from your user library. I'll talk about all that in a moment, the best way to install it. But that is an easy way. And then just save it here, and it will save to your user library. But I'll go into more detail about that. Okay, so here we go. We've got it loaded. I'm in session view here, because I think it's maybe the best way to display drum devices like this. And this little triangle here will open it all up. It'll probably look like this when you open it, and then there'll be another triangle. Okay, and these two effect slots. To see these, you have to make sure you've got returns enabled in terms of viewing, which is Command Option R, brings out the returns. Okay, so there they are. They're the effect slots. Okay, so let's begin at the beginning here. We've got an overall drive effect, which is really just adding kind of groove to the kit. We've also got this fizz and spit, which is kind of like a wave folder. Just makes things very, very hairy. Okay, now we've got our 8 pads here. So, short kick, snappy snares, muted snares. I talked about these in the other video, the difference. It's all about mic position. Then up here, long kick, big, long, dirty, distorted kicks. Similar to the short kicks, it's much longer decay. Interesting to have them both. Then we've got a long hat, like open hats, of which there are not loads. I talked about in the other video, and short hats, and you hear they are choking. So the short hat, like a closed hat, is choking the open hats. And then reverse long kick and reverse short kick, which are nice for creating kind of groove. So that is the drum parts. And if we click into any one of these, like snare snap, snappy snares, sample selector. It goes through all the different snare types, attack and decay. Affect the attack and decay. Now you might want to alter these a bit because mainly they're working on attack and decay, but some of them are also playing around with sustain. Yes, the short hat is playing with sustain. So you might want to alter some of these, or maybe not. I've got them set up so that they sound nice when you basically play with the pads. Okay, then we've got resonance, which gets really hairy. Filter frequency cutoff. And then filter circuit type. You see it's changing it down here, which becomes quite noticeable. with lots of resonance, filter resonance. So just nice to have to change things for sound design options. And then tuning and fine tuning. Okay, so they are the controls, and they're the same for all 8 parts, color coded the same way. Yes, that salmon color and the orange color are kind of similar, but I hope you can see the difference. Okay, then we've got effect slots, like I was talking about before. So we've basically got effect slot 1, and then effect slot 2, which correspond to 1 and 2. So currently I've got a reverb set up in the first one. And probably the easiest way to display these and change these is to have return showing, like I said before, Command Shift R, and then clicking on these. So effect slot 1, which is currently a reverb and a saturator and a bit of compression going on afterwards. And effect slot 2 is delay with a bit of saturator as well. By all means, definitely get in there, change them, make them your own thing, do whatever you want. I encourage you to do that. I've chosen nice basic effects so they'll work in standard versions of Ableton. I built this in Live 10. I'm currently in Live 12 because my video capture didn't like Live 10. But they'll work in Live 10, 0.1, 0.43 and upwards. And they should probably work until, well, Ableton's always really good at being backwards compatible. Or forwards compatible, sorry. Yes, so things in older versions work in newer versions usually, and this should work without any problems in Live Standard and Live Suite from version 10.1, 0.43 and up. Okay, so effect slots, like I was saying, maybe I'll just play the part. So we've got kicks, color coded here, short kick, long kick, and we've got reverse kicks, again they're up here, long and short, purple, snares over here, the snappy snare, the muted snare, and then hats, long hats and short hats, so color coded. So these are obviously all going across to effect slot 1, so reverb. And then these, see I'm changing the level tier of the returns over here. So that's the reverb as the delay. Let's play around with the delay now. And so these are the sends for effects send 2. Yeah, and that is kind of it. Yeah, so definitely play. Oh, one more thing actually. Remember, pan positions. So you see I've got all these in the center. And all these examples I've given so far, they've all been centered. I played around with panning different kits when I had several kits loaded and playing at once to create a kind of stereo impression. But they're all panned straight down the center. And so the easiest way to change that is probably just get in there and give these a little twist. Where are we? Oops. Do something kind of crazy just for the hell of it. Okay. And yep, the best way again is probably with that triangle there, unfold, unfold, and there it is. So you can view the drum device as a kind of mix, as a mixer. Right. Yeah, it's probably enough information. There we go, that is it. It's not too complicated. Got this here at the end of the chain. can get quite fuzzy. In fact, we turn up the resonance. Where are we? Okay, anyway, I hope that gives you some idea. Really, it's not complicated. It'll look nice and neat, something like this. So have fun. Okay, so installation instructions. This is where I have the files hosted. Thank you for supporting the project. It will require Live 10.1.43 or newer, so Live 11 or 12 or probably Live 13 whenever they get around to releasing that. It'll work with standard versions, or it will work with Suite. It'll even work pretty well with the intro version. Not all the effects might load because of limits in intro. Okay, so once we have downloaded the files, it will look like this. We'll have the session folder at the top. We'll have the one-shot drum samples here, a README, which says thank you and has some written instructions. And again, thank you. And an image to remind you of the process. So what I would do is take the one-shot samples and save them into your library. Wherever you like to keep your samples, do that. Save it in there for future use. Okay. Then open the session folder, open the session file, which I've got open here already. It'll look just like this, but without the mic channel. And here we have the device loaded already. And the easiest way to save it is to click this little button right there. Looks like a floppy disk on the top right corner. It'll open up the browser and your user library, hit enter, and when I do this very quickly, you'll see it's going to copy the files. And what it's done is it's taken all the associated samples and saved them into your user library. And this is good. This means that in the future, you can simply drag and drop and it will know exactly where to find the files. And then you can load many instances of the device and Ableton Live will know where to find the files. And that is really it. So it's really simple. So yes, I would definitely recommend opening this and then saving the device. That way Live knows exactly what to do and where to put all the samples. Okay. Now if you manage to break the path between the samples, down the bottom here you get an orange media files are missing. I've done this intentionally. So you click on this, it'll bring up this little browser on the right, and then generally the automatic search will do the job. So you can set a folder. In this case, it's not going to find it because I intentionally deleted the file. But you set a folder, for example, your samples folder, and then it will find them. They'll have individual and unique names, so it should find them without any problems to reassociate them. Okay, but that shouldn't happen if you follow my instructions. So that is installation. It is very simple. If we go back out to this, we've also got the one-shot samples, and I'll talk about so the impulse responses, why they might be useful. Okay, so these impulse responses, let me show you why they're useful. So here we've got the amplified drums, the synthetic drums amplified device, and I've also added a couple of other drum kits, and I've intentionally chosen kits that are quite different. So the idea is we've got this 808 and claps, but they're not really sitting that well with our drums because they're very dry and they're just completely different sounding. So So what we can do is use the hybrid reverb or another convolution verb like fog from Audio Thing. Let me bring that up again quickly. Or the hybrid convolution reverb, which I think might still be Ableton Suite. Anyway, any convolution reverb will work. So we've got our convolution reverb. We get our impulse responses. We'll take the first one here, load it in there. So I've chosen samples here that really don't fit that well when they're dry. If we listen here, we can really hear it. So here it is without. We've got our original kit, our device, and a couple of others, and they're not really sitting that nicely together. So it helps them sit together in what sounds more like the same room. Anyway, I thought that might be useful. So there's a few in there. There's some snares, there's a couple of longer hats and a bunch of shorter hats. You might need to trim the attack a bit, otherwise you really will hear the sound itself. But yeah, I encourage you to play around with these if they're useful. So I thought they might be impulse responses. Okay, so now you should have a good idea of how the device sounds and how it works and how to install it. Get in touch if you have any questions or comments, and if you do anything interesting with the drums, I would love to hear it. The link to everything is below, and until next time, ciao!